So good morning, everybody. My name is Sherri Lojzer. I am an affiliate, part of the leadership team with This Great City, and welcome to the Monday Morning Hustle. This is one of the many events that we have been holding to kind of keep our membership engaged and keep them focused on business and something to do throughout this crazy pandemic time that we're living through. It's funny because I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I said, I almost don't want to say this out loud because, people will label me Karen. But we're kind of actually appreciating the slowed down life. And I miss all of our friends and all the socializing and stuff, and obviously being able to have the kids here, but it's been, pretty quiet and relaxed. And I feel like there's no pressure on things the way that there was before. So I'm actually very much appreciating the current state of things. And to add to it, Dusty's schedule has been shifted so that they can accommodate everybody at work. And it's almost like he's constantly off, like he's on holidays or something half the time. So I'm looking at the bright side, but I am appreciating the challenges. However, it's not that simple for everybody. And so I'm wondering this morning if there's something that you guys are seeing as a value that you're learning or gaining out of, this sort of weird period that we're going through. What do you guys think?
Well, for me personally, it brought up an opportunity that part of the Ontario government, it's my regulatory board, a branch of it, and they saw the wisdom of online training, which has been kind of any advancements have been kiboshed for the last 5 or 6 years, to be honest, since 2015, late 14. And so they saw the wisdom of it. And so that having this time has given me the opportunity to hyper focus on one task.
Nice. That's good. Yeah.
Usually, like you say, it's crazy, right? You're doing what you do for a living or your business. You're doing that, you're living, you're trying to, we've had Easter, Mother's Day, half my family's birthdays have gone by, unfortunately, during this pandemic, right? Which we would always have, barbecues or everybody in the living room, dining room. So again, other than feeling really bad, I haven't been able to see my mom and missing, hugging and kissing the kids and stuff. It's been really, really nice. And if I have a nap one afternoon because it's just like a horrible day, I don't feel super bad because I can go and work in the evening because I don't have to get up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning to go where I need to go, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Araceli, what about you?
Well, there have been lots and lots of changes for me in the dynamics that I do work. One of the great things that came out of the pandemic is that insurance companies have got very slow in converting everything into non-face-to-face and remote work, especially investments. You always have to get in front of the client, check their ID, witness their signature in order to do business. Even though they had apps that I can do it on my iPad, but I still have to be in front of the client. So that changed quite quickly for all the companies. So, which actually was fantastic because now I can do everything remotely, but it had to happen something like this for the companies to say, oh, we have to kind of pivot from one day to another. They couldn't do it before, and all of a sudden now they can, right?
Yeah.
So, which is actually really nice. I'm able to take more appointments, almost back to back. So I think that
Which has its downside, but
so it's a downside. But you know what? If I can schedule like 4 or 5 appointments one day, and then the next, then I can just do my paperwork on another day, and that's it. So yeah. I'm thinking about kind of rescheduling that to do 2 days appointments, and then the other days just do paperwork and do networking and so on. So
awesome.
It will streamline quite a lot my time for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Melissa, are you able to join us verbally?
Hi, Sherri. I might have a quick minute.
Awesome. I'm glad you can.
For me, it's kind of getting back to the old ways of not going out all the time and more prioritizing the online life, as well as being able to expand like other opportunities and share more for my online customers. So yeah, and more time with the kids.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think you're right. There's a lot more sort of that old school perspective about a lot of things. Suddenly everybody on the planet wanted to have, a few fruits and vegetables. So everybody's decided they should take up gardening. People are getting out in nature where, we've become really tied to a lot of technology and that sort of stuff. Now people are actually, yes, technology is more important, but we're also getting out in nature more. So that's awesome.
Now it makes you want to throw away the phone more.
Ivan, what about you?
Just to enjoy those little minutes.
Yeah, it's so true, Melissa.
Yeah, it's funny that that this is what we're talking about on other calls that I do. The same type of things people are talking about, which is I actually started last week. I haven't finished it. An article saying, I'm able to keep my New Year's resolutions now, because so many people say, I'm gonna eat healthier. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to spend more time with my family. I'm going to spend more time with myself.
There you go.
And then COVID-19 comes along and says, do it.
Yeah, you are.
So we are doing it. So, but I'll tell you, for me, the one thing, which I don't know if it would have naturally occurred, Sherri, but we've just been a lot more paying attention to health, right? Which just the things that we eat, the things that we, even the amount of we went out and picked up Fitbits yesterday for the first time.
Oh my God, I have a Fitbit. We have to do challenges.
Of course. Oh no. Oh gosh. Okay. But anyway, but the point is that, just a keener attention to what you're eating and all those things. So maybe COVID-19 is just, maybe we would naturally do this if we were forced to stop. Right? If everybody was forced to stop, which we are, maybe this is what happens, because Sherri would know this, Catherine probably as well, is that when you leave and you go up to the cottage, like how many times when you're at the cottage do you stop and ponder and say, we need to spend more time out in places like this. We need to eat better or whatever it is. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, that's so true. I think we love camping. And it's interesting because now that we, have this sort of farming thing going on, it's surprising how much more you just appreciate just simplicity, I say. But it is simple, spending the entire day planting. Or, I've spent more days out on tractors driving through fields than you can possibly imagine. So just being able to slow down, remove all of those other distractions, and feel like you can sort of really appreciate the moment for what it is really kind of nice. So I think, like anything, things work well. Oh, we lost Melissa. Things work well until they break. And then, then you have to stop and you have to make it work. And, maybe our Mother Earth has decided, hey, guys, this isn't working so well. We're going to take a pause. But either way, I do think that there's positive that comes out of, no matter what we encounter. And I know that a lot of people are starting to feel a lot of stress, with everything going on in the States right now. I feel like we have to focus on the positive even more than ever, because if we're not focused on the positive, man, you can get dragged down into that stuff pretty fast. It's awful.
Can I just jump in and put a commercial out there for everybody here? Because I think everyone here are members. So on the website, you'll notice that we've created an incentives page. On that incentives page, there are only a few people that are up there. If you're offering an incentive and we have not created a tile for you, if you can just go on there and just verify that the information is either accurate that's on the tile, or that or if there's no tile, just send me a little note and let's create one, especially if you have a special incentive for right now. let's say for the next 2 months or so, then send it across to me so that that can get up there, and it will go out in the newsletter this week. That's going to go out to everybody.
Awesome. Okay. And really quickly, do you want to take a minute actually to everybody to just introduce your the other shows that we have happening? Do you want to take a minute to do that as well?
Yeah, for sure. So tomorrow for me, tomorrow is simply networking. So this is just open networking. This is where we just introduce ourselves, what we do, and then we try to see if we can connect people with referrals, right? So the event tomorrow is also including people that are not in business. So there are a few people that said they're coming that don't own a company. They are simply consumers, or they're simply people looking for opportunity in business. So so therefore, I like the idea of not just having people pushing their businesses on other people, but there are actually people that are looking to buy or looking to gain access. So that's tomorrow, and that's for me at 8:30.
Awesome. That will be
invite your
fun.
friends.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And on Thursday, Catherine Davies, and it's Tech Talk with Catherine Davies. And we're going to be talking and asking you what's the issue, what issues are you having? And I'm going to have some stuff on the backup, but I know we've heard people that are just using Excel and other people that are using multiple platforms and stuff like that, right? So we'll try and get some issues out in the open and look to see if we can draw from that and ask people what they want to hear, right? Because, you know, it's not just what I think they want to hear. Maybe I should ask them and they might tell me something that I'm pretty surprised about. So yeah, it's Thursday Tech Talk.
Awesome. And I see that we have someone else there. So we'll give them a moment to introduce themselves in a minute. We're just going through some of our events.
I don't know if she can. She's actually over there. And she's trying to connect on her machine.
Got it. Okay. Melissa, do you want to tell us about your Wednesday evening?
Yeah, Wednesday night, 8:30 is our evening mastermind, where we'll be discussing finances and ways and little secrets, how to invest, where to invest, and learn how to help everybody overcome through COVID-19 with investments.
Nice.
Excellent.
Very cool. All right. So we didn't actually do introductions, and I think most of us here know each other, but I think we should do that really quickly. So if we can take a minute just to introduce ourselves before we start with the topic that we're kind of going to go through today. And so, Araceli, do you want to go ahead and start that off? Sorry, I may have totally caught you off guard. Yeah, we'll give her a minute. How about you, Catherine?
All right. Catherine Davies, Life's Emergency Training. I'm also a Burlington City Leader, affiliate with this great city as well. And Life's Emergency Training, we are on-site first aid, CPR, and AED training company. We work with mainly industrial commercial clients, small to medium size, and we help their HR stay compliant with WSIB.
Very cool, thank you. And Ivan, what about you? I can see you, so. You're muted.
I just wanted you guys to focus on me. That's
you know, I truly think that by the end of this pandemic, the most common statement that anybody will have heard is "you're on mute."
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, I've been with my agency. .ca. We're a marketing company here in Hamilton, specializing in social media marketing and web design. Also support, like web design and support. We also provide low-cost content creation. We consult with small and medium-sized businesses to help them maximize their online presence.
Fantastic. All right, Melissa, do you want to go? Oh, she may not be able to join us. I'm not sure. Araceli, are you able to join us now? I may have picked like the worst time to have everybody introduce themselves.
Like while you're eating and all of a sudden.
Yeah. All right. I can see that Teresa looks like she's there now. I'm not sure if her.
Yeah, she has no mic and she has no video.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
no worries then.
But she can look at you.
What's that?
She can see us on her screen, but she can't actually interact.
She can't engage with us, so okay, that's fine. So we'll come back and we'll give everybody a chance to introduce themselves.
Oh, I think Araceli is back.
Sorry, guys, I had to take a phone call. Sorry.
No worries at all. We totally understand. We were just kind of going around and letting everybody take a moment to introduce themselves and what they do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Monday morning. My name is Araceli, and I'm a transition financial specialist and a real estate investor. So I help single professional women to rearrange their finances, and I do that by improving their cash flow, eliminating debt, and retire early.
Mm-hmm.
I love the rearranging. Like, it seems so much less intimidating than the financial planning, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? People think that financial planning is actually a very complicated thing to do. It's actually very simple. And people that do believe that they don't have a lot of money, those are the people that could benefit much better from having a plan in place. And believe me, I do it in stages. So I don't throw everything at you at once. And we try to make it easy, simple, and I help you all the way through.
Awesome. Well, I like that. I'm going to remember that. Maybe I can convince myself to spend more time doing that.
Yes.
I could spend a lot of time rearranging a lot of things. All right. Thank you for that. I'm glad that you were able to join us today. So I'm going to actually share my screen. Oh, hang on a second. Not going to do it very well, apparently. Share screen, and here we go. All right. So I need to go to my. I can't see the bar. I don't want to make that smaller. There we go. I couldn't see the bar to turn it into the slideshow. So we're going to start from the beginning. Okay. We're going to talk about brainstorming today, and I think this is a very tiny piece, which is sort of a funny way to phrase that, but it's a very tiny piece of one of the most important things that we do in business, because we spend a lot of time on the tasks every day, and we are constantly, putting out fires. Something happens, we make a choice what we need to do. Something else happens, we have to develop a plan on how we're going to handle that. So a lot of time is spent in business doing that. And even when we have something called a strategic plan or something even that mimics a strategic plan, there are periods of time where we need to create the meat of those strategic plans. And brainstorming is probably one of the most important things that we can utilize to do that. And it's a very specific thing. It is entirely meant to bring together the collective energy and experience and ideas that normally would not be allowed to come up. When we talk about brainstorming, most people probably recognize, that process in that, everybody sits in a room and we have a topic and we're just going to throw ideas out. We're going to see what comes, and then, you can't judge that sort of stuff. And all of those are really important pieces of that brainstorming process. But what I want to do first is kind of set the stage for understanding just how vast brainstorming actually is. And we're going to do kind of a little bit of an activity to help with that. So how many people have seen this? Have you seen this before?
No.
Okay. So what do you see? Araceli's saying no. So Araceli, what do you see in this picture?
It looks like a duck's head or something like that.
Okay. Do you see the rabbit?
Mm-hmm.
I see the rabbit too. I'm looking at this. This one looks like a duck, and then this side looks like a rabbit. So.
Yeah, and that's awesome because the reality is it's all about perception.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's lots of times where you look at something and you see something so super crystal clear, and somebody else will say, yes, but I see it this way. And you're like, no, I don't see it. But if you couldn't see it and I said to you, well, this here, I don't know if you can see my cursor moving actually, these are ears, not the duck's bill. And this eye and this nose over here, that's the bunny. That's what I see. Of course, I actually do see the duck first usually, and then you see the rabbit. So there are a bunch of examples of this out there, and it's really interesting because it really makes you stop and realize that as quickly as we take in information, we process it and we make a judgment. And that's it. Our mind has been made up and we've made that judgment. And so now we can move on to the next task. And that's really important because we have to be able to make decisions, sometimes very, very quickly. And we also need to process things so that we can categorize where they belong in our lives or where they belong in a situation that we're currently in. So it is really, really important. But it's even more important when we're doing brainstorming, and that's why I bring this up, that we need to be aware that perception changes. And it can change based on experience. It can change based on expertise, training, learning. It can change just on, a few moments of meditation on something. Suddenly we see something we didn't see before, right? So we want to be able to recognize going into a brainstorming session that perception, we're opening our eyes to the concept that what we think we see right now is very likely not what everybody else sees. So this one, everybody knows this one, right? It was cute. It's not what we not what we would normally say around, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. But the idea is really that there is no judgment. And in fact, what we want is more creativity. And the reason we want more creativity is because our brains work in these really weird, mysterious ways. So on a linear level, I can go through a conversation and say, from this idea to this idea to this idea to this idea, and everybody can follow that train of thought. It's logical, it makes sense. You can see why the first idea connected to the second one, connected to the third one, to the fourth. But our brain also does a whole lot of processing that is non-linear. And it's one of the things that happens at nighttime when we're sleeping. It's also something that's happening subconsciously. So, if you imagine kind of like a computer, you have the RAM memory in the computer, which pretty much handles all the stuff going on in the front end. But then there's all of this other memory in the background that stores all this other data. That's like your subconscious, and all of that other data actually has the ability to be compared to other things. So in our brain, when we're in that subconscious space, we're in the shower and all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, I have a brilliant idea. And we don't understand why that happens. It's because your brain starts taking all of the bits and pieces of information that's been flowing in, and it goes, do these go together? Do these go together? Do these go together? Do these go together? What if I do this? No. What if I do this? And it starts pulling all of these pieces of information together in a completely non-linear way. And this is where some of our most brilliant ideas come from, because we've allowed non-linear thought processes to be active and comparing information that we wouldn't normally put together. So I have a friend, I jokingly use this example, and I'm sure someday I should probably tell him that I use him as an example, but his favorite sandwich in the whole wide world is peanut butter and tomato. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that is not a combination that I would put together. I would never in a billion years would I have ever thought of that as a good idea. I don't know, has anybody tried that? No, yeah, no, me either. I'm still not willing to go there. He continually says, don't knock it till you try it. But somewhere along the line, someone had this ridiculous idea to put peanut butter and tomatoes together and try it. That's a perfect example, and he loves it. Now, granted, most of the rest of the world probably wouldn't, but it doesn't matter. It worked for him. So we want to make sure that that judgment is not there, because what works in one situation may not work in another, and what works for one person may not work for another. Okay. What do you guys think? Great product.
Okay. It's interesting.
Well, you know, we paint our toes, we wear toe rings. Why not? I don't know about a tutu, but the idea here is the more ridiculous, the better. We just want to have that opportunity to bring those ridiculous ideas together, because a second ago when I was talking about all those crazy nonlinear thoughts, that's what gives us space to start processing those pieces. Is the more ridiculous, sometimes all of a sudden you go, wait a second, and you recognize that actually that totally could work. How many times have you encountered that, right? Where you go, oh my God, we should totally do this. And then you're like, actually, that's not a bad idea. So it might sound ridiculous at the beginning, but without judgment and just a little bit of, could this work? How could we make this work? Suddenly what seems ridiculous becomes not quite so ridiculous. Okay, so I wanted to do this a little differently today. So I'm gonna just escape out of that and we're gonna close that down. Stop sharing my screen, actually. You know, sometimes I swear technology hates me. Stop share, thank you. So what I wanted to do today was, I thought we'd take a topic that might be really beneficial for all of us. And some things might apply and some things may not for our own businesses, but they might be fantastic ideas for somebody else's. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a brainstorming session about a particular topic. I've already selected this topic so that it was, so that I could kind of control the conversation a bit, just to prove where we're going. But what I want to do is we're going to start off with the topic. And then what I want you guys to do is in the chat box, I'm going to give you guys a minute in the chat box, and only to me, so that it's not going to everyone, only to me, I want you to come up with as many ideas as quickly as you can. And then we're going to do another step after this. We're going to see kind of what starts to come up. And I'm going to talk about why we're doing it this way, because most people are accustomed to a group think kind of brainstorming, right? But we're going to do that differently. I'm going to explain why afterwards. Okay, so the topic of conversation that we're going to do a bit of brainstorming around is rewarding customers. So this can be kind of specific to your own business, how you would do this in your own business, or it can not be at all. Sorry, I shouldn't say kind of specific to your own business. It totally can be specific to your own business, or not at all. So if you were to imagine for a few minutes, and we're gonna just do a moment of, I should turn some music on my phone. We're gonna do just a moment of thinking about the possibilities. Never mind money, never mind logistics. It's not about any of those things. This is about, as customers, what are the potential things that we could use to reward them in any way, shape, or form? And so I'm going to just wait for you guys to send in a bunch. I'm going to just do a little bit of a timer for a minute. Oh, I can't. Okay, awesome. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do something a little bit different with that list. I'm not going to share with you guys just yet on that list. What I want you to do now is I want you to imagine for a moment that, sorry, I'm putting your names on the list so that I don't lose track. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are one of Araceli's clients. And you've been working with her for, you know, a while now. You know, you've given her a lot of business. What I want you guys to do is I want you to now think about what would be some ways that you would really, truly appreciate a thank you from her. And specifically from her, because you know what she does. She does financial rearranging and real estate investing. So what would be some things that you think would be really awesome rewards from her as a thank you.
I'm writing down.
Okay, that's a great idea. And I want you to do the same thing, Catherine and Ivan, to just come up with some stuff, type it in the chat box, but only send it directly to me. Okay, fantastic. Now we're going to do the same thing for Catherine. So imagine that you have been hiring Catherine to do all of your training for some time now. You're very pleased with the work that she does, but you know, you've invested a lot in her working with you, and so you know you'd love to get a thank you from her. What would it be? Okay, we're gonna do this one more time, only this time we're gonna do it for Ivan. So you've spent a lot of money with Ivan, a lot of money. He's built you this amazing site, but yeah, you've been a pretty loyal customer for a really long time. So now it's time to think about what kind of a thank you you would like from Ivan.
I'm assuming I don't have to be the one to, I don't have to write my own incentives. Or...
No, you don't have to.
No. All right.
Well, I played along.
I mean, I could, I mean, if you,
Not that any of my suggestions would be anything that I'm looking for, okay?
well, if you guys are giving me all kinds of referrals and stuff, I should gift myself, really. I mean,
That's right.
I mean, that's a big 10-4 there. All right.
You understand what we're saying with the spelling errors, right?
Yeah, it's good. Okay, fantastic. So now what we're gonna do, so I'm actually gonna close that down so it's not in my way. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this together as a group. And so the reason why we did this individually is because there's a plus side and a negative side to the groupthink sort of approach to brainstorming. In some groups, you will get people who are a little more timid or not as comfortable inserting themselves in a conversation, or maybe not comfortable enough to say what they're thinking. Might sound like, if I say that, I'm going to sound crazy, or, you know, there's some preconceived notions about how something is going to be received. I don't think any of us have that actual issue. So I think we're fairly safe in that. But psychological safety in a brainstorming environment is extremely important. And so one of the ways that you can sort of move past that, if you were to bring together a small group of people, a couple of your customers, for example, one of the great ways to do that is kind of similar to this, where you have each person write down a couple of ideas and they pass the sheet to the next person and have that person add on to them. So hopefully the idea is that they're not saying it out loud. So if they have some preconceived notions, that's creating a little bit more safety for them to come up with the idea, and hopefully nobody's judging them for it. So remembering that, I mean, you know, we see, especially right now, we can see very easily how quickly a group mindset can derail or divert where people are going, how they might behave, what they might say and do. And so that's what we're trying to avoid, is creating a situation where there's an opportunity to allow each person to bring out their own thoughts and processes first. And then let's start talking about them, because then we could build on them. So we'll start at the very beginning. And so the very first one was, the first one we did was for Araceli, right? So I'm going to go through the list, and you guys are okay with me reading these out, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the first one for Araceli, we had, I'm going to read this big list out, and what I'm hoping that you guys will start doing is scribble some more notes down while I'm saying things, because hopefully it will cue some other ideas in your head. So gifts, sports tickets, send in coffee and treats, free lunch and learns, loyalty points, referrals, Visa cards. I'm assuming there'll be money on the Visa cards. Send cookies. I really liked that one. Amazon cards, flowers, cards, and candles. Incentive pricing. Sorry, I'm trying to read my handwriting now. I can't actually read what I wrote. Swag, a cruise, workshops, seminars, referrals, commission, kickbacks, and affiliate status. Okay, so that was a long list. And there really wasn't a lot of overlap. But now take that list. I want you guys to sort of think that stuff through for just a moment. And see, is there anything in that that you might be able to add? Are there ones that you can put together? Are there ones that you
was that the list for Arceli, or was that the general list?
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the general list. Okay. Sorry, my bad. So if you were to sort of start taking those and maybe piecing them together, comparing ones, and we're not judging, right? We're not eliminating anything. We're adding right now. So what kinds of thoughts come to mind as we go through those? And maybe what we'll do is we'll actually break them down a little bit. Because some of them were like, you know, physical things. Some of them were more like experiences, right? Are there any other kind of categories that you would identify?
Specific things that are to them, not only for an experience. Another thing that I was thinking about is sending something for a client that has a pet. That is not a general thing, because not everybody has a pet, but if you send something that is for a pet, they know that it's very personal to them, right?
That's a great idea.
It also shows that you've actually gotten to know your customer, right?
Yeah. Okay. What else? Yeah. Keep going. So yeah, besides, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say something in your last interaction with the client, that they've said something. So, you know, like I said, I can't wait to go on vacation, right? Or we're going up to the cottage, so send some snorkels, you know, just to show, like you said, that you've been listening to your client, right?
So personalizing based on the conversation.
Yeah, or your interactions, like knowing them, that kind of stuff, right?
Okay. Those are great ideas. The other thing that came out was actually, did it come out in this one actually? It didn't necessarily. So we'll leave that one. No, actually I am going to put it in because it did come out afterwards. There were a couple of things that came up after this when we continued on that were about time with the person's time. Right. So that's all. I mean, we value our time incredibly. So that person's time can be really, really valuable.
For sure.
You know, the one thing I appreciate every year is you know, I mean, I could get, you know, something really, really cool like swag from Catherine, right? But no, she invites us out to this incredible picnic every year, right? And it's just nice. I mean, we look forward to it as a family. We go there and there's games and all kinds of things going on, and it's at her home, which is nice. So that I would appreciate way more than getting a shirt or a mug, right?
That's awesome.
That's very nice to know. Thank you. Because yeah, you often wonder.
Okay. So what about things like the seminars, the lunch and learns, the workshops? So those are kind of a bit of a, you know, they kind of clump together. Are there ways that you're able to take this big list, right, and add to it or change it, or what else?
You're talking about specifics, right? So if it was you know, a brainstorm where we were actually sitting down over coffee, you know, talking about Arceli and what we can do, you know, to reward Arceli, we would really go deep. I mean, it would be really trying to figure out, things about her and trying to figure out, what would have the greatest impact. I mean, right now we're thinking in hypotheticals, but you know how it gets when you're in a room and you're actually trying to drill down on how you're going, what's the best way forward. I think we would actually come up with different things.
Mm-hmm. So, well, let's do the list then, because that was a really good, like, between you three, you came up with a really good list of stuff. So we actually did that with this. So this one is for Araceli specifically. So thank yous from Araceli to any of her clients. A Visa card, investment for me, trip voucher, thank you cards, lunch together, non-restaurant dinner. I liked how you worded that. Annual picnic, preferred list of investors. So there would be specific opportunities that were out there. So those are some things. If we were to focus on that and say, as you said, Ivan, we do actually get swag, and that's lovely. And in all honesty, some people really love that kind of stuff. Having been someone who has probably been to far more print trade shows than you can possibly imagine, I now avoid swag like the plague. So we have to think about things from many different perspectives. So out of those things, are there ideas? Get more specific. So Araceli, if you were thinking about Catherine as she's given you a list, but you're thinking about Catherine as a client, or you're thinking about Ivan as a client, which ones of those do you go, yeah, I feel like that would be something that would be natural for me to give?
Normally what I do is I send something, it's a gift card. Right? It could be an Amazon card. This is very general, specifically now that we are kind of stuck at home, may as well do something and do some shopping, right? So that is actually a general idea. But the more I get to know them and the longer they're my clients, then I can figure out more what they're specific to them. I think you can't go wrong with a gift card. Everybody would appreciate it. Also, dinner card, those ones that you can go to different restaurants, because I don't know which one would be your preferred restaurant. That I can never go wrong with that. But over time, I usually get a little bit more personal with my clients as I have them for a longer time. So.
And so what kind of response do you like? What are the ones that seem to have gotten I'm just curious, what kind of very personalized ones, besides the pet one, because that's great.
So one year I actually took, I made cookies, and I just put them in a bag, and I said them, I hope that you have a great Christmas and enjoy, some homemade cookies. So I got actually a really good feedback. Like my clients right away send me and says, oh, this was an amazing gift. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. The cookies are delicious. So I got a really good feedback right away. That's why I put the cookies there. And in fact, that I'm planning to do that right now that we are all kind of inside, just kind of have a little treat.
Ivan's typing his address into the chat bar right now.
Yes, sir.
Especially when you don't expect it. So yes. I think it is, it's a nice touch. I'm actually waiting for a quote from a lady that makes cookies and cakes, and she's just gonna throw in all of the shipping and everything, how it could be for a half a dozen, a dozen cookies, depends on what it is. Like if I know a client that is more than one client, I have a client that her son is also my client, so I will send probably a dozen cookies for both of them, right? Instead of just sending half a dozen. So I just think that is something kind of out of the ordinary, and that people will remember it a little bit more.
Very cool. What's the what is the, Ivan, you talked about the picnic, which is great. What is another reward that you got, or some kind of, surprise thing that you got that you were like, wow, thank you. That was awesome, from being a customer?
Well, one of the things that I like doing is, there's a threshold of referrals that we get, and then we take the customer out for dinner or something. One of the shocks that we had was a client of ours that we've been dealing with now for years from Texas. They came up. We took them out for lunch, which was nice. We took them. What was that place that we took them to? That restaurant on the water there off Vineland.
Oh, the Edgewood.
That's the best place. It was really, really nice.
Or Edgewater, sorry.
Edgewater, that's right. It was really sweet when we went there.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Because it was just a late lunch, and so there weren't that many people in there, and so we had an amazing time. Did not talk about business like that. We weren't talking about, hey, so we want to get all your, and at the end of it, the bill was already paid. We took them out for dinner and they paid the bill, which is amazing. I love Texas. So the point is that, it was really, now when I see pictures that they post on Facebook or whatever it is, I really know them, right? If someone were to say, hey, you know what, I'm in need of this service, or I'm looking for this, guess who I'm going to refer, right? So it just made that bonding, great. What do you think, Teresa?
Yeah, it definitely made the relationship a little bit more.
Yeah, the relationship became strong just in that 2 hours that we spent together.
So that says a lot right there. Sorry, what were you going to say, Catherine?
It is. I think nowadays it's all about relationships, right? Mm-hmm. So, what Ivan was talking about with the picnic, that's more of my associates and alliances kind of level, right? Like that's different than my clients. I don't invite my clients, but I try and be on Facebook with everybody, all my clients. So one of my clients is a builder up in the Barrie and North area, right? And so like he sent me a picture of a rattlesnake, because that's one of the things we talk about is bites. But and then he shows the fish that he caught, and it's like, oh, my husband's gonna be really, don't make sure Bill doesn't see that Ken. And we know that they've got kids. When you guys had Tanis, right? We were all excited about the baby coming and stuff like, the baby, I know, I hear you.
The teenager, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And yet the teenagers act like toddlers sometimes.
Yeah. And when the kids, before Evan and lived with you, when the kids would come to visit, and remembering your kids' names, and you really try and do that extra stuff, right?
Yeah. It's
so,
really shocking sometimes. I think you wouldn't. We don't really deal that much with some of my clients.
Yeah.
And then they remember the name, and it's like, yeah, that's really kind of cool. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay, so
a lot.
This is a good train of thought. So my question is, how do you do this, especially now, right now, and amongst this? How do we do a better job of building those relationships?
Okay.
Well, I think for me, it's actually, I ask a lot of questions. And it's just the nature of what I do, right? Like, what is that you hope to do? How do you see yourself going in the future? Are you with your husband, or if you're by yourself? If you have kids, how is your relationship with them? So, and, they basically tell me everything, like, oh, my daughter does this, my son is this, and, he's going to school, but, he doesn't like it. And there's a whole bunch of stories that they start telling you, and then you can really understand them, a little bit or a deeper level, why they're doing what they're doing and why they want what they want, right? In the future. Some people said, no, I'm not going to leave anything to my kids. This is what I want. I want to do this. Or this is also very important to me, to leave certain amount of money for my kids, right? So it's very, very interesting to learn about people and what circumstances drive you to that conclusion, right? So very, very important.
I think loyalty right now is like the hugest thing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because you're friends with those people, you're more loyal to them.
Okay, so what makes you feel loyal to someone, to a relationship?
So just to jump on what everyone's saying just now, one of the things that uh, surprised me was one of my clients. They, at the very beginning of this pandemic shutdown, they went out and they called every customer. They called them up, every customer that they dealt with. And I thought, wow, that's brilliant. Let's get on that. So we did the same thing here. But that was the first wave. The second wave is now I'm calling up customers and I'm saying, let's have coffee. And they're always shocked about that. But coffee, ooh, you can't do that, right? But no, you can. So I'll call you tomorrow at 11. You get your coffee ready. I'll get my coffee ready. We get on Zoom and let's have coffee, man. And then we sit down. We actually there comes a point at about the 7 minute to 10 minute mark where you just forget that you're not in that coffee shop. It's just as natural as ever to have that coffee with the person. So I just recommend as often as possible, just have that coffee meeting.
It's actually becoming a little bit more common for everybody. Believe me, like it took kind of a couple months when the pandemic started to happen. I called my clients and especially if I had something to do with them that we were going to do some business or anything like that. And they said, no, we want to wait until everything comes back to normal. And this, at the last 2 weeks of May, everybody started to come back and says, you know what? Says, I don't know how long this is going to be. You know what? Can we do it on Zoom? He says, no problem, right? But I think we need to kind of wait at that period because everybody is in the shock. Like, I can't go out. I can have the interaction. So how can I do it? And it just took that little bit of us, is this the new norm, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is going to benefit everybody in the long, especially business owners. If you were able to pivot your business online and do everything on Zoom, people are starting to get used to being on Zoom calls all the time to do their transactions. So.
Mm-hmm. So,
and Sherri, just one more thing, I'm sorry about this, but just to piggyback on what Arceli just said, because I'm thinking about the brainstorm process that we're talking about and how amazing it would be, when I'm in a room and I'm brainstorming with folks, not everyone has access to show you exactly what they're talking about, right? I mean, I guess, a lot of cell phones now, they could, but the people that are at the other end of the table, then your phone is being shipped around to everybody, right? And you're just waiting for that phone to get back to you. It's easy now.
So you can sanitize it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All of a sudden they start looking at your messages. Anyway, so the thing is, right now, if we had a room of 16 people and we were brainstorming something and someone came up with an idea, but we're like, I'm not sure what that looks like, they can actually share their screen and show it to everybody at the same time, which is an amazing thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Okay, so I want to come back to that building loyalty piece because so far what we have is have a coffee on Zoom.
Yeah.
But what else do you do in your relationships? Because I think you hit on something really important that we need to keep rolling with, which is it's not about what you know from a business standpoint. Ivan, you talked about the fact that you went through a lunch with them and you didn't talk about business, and now look at the difference in the relationship. And so, and then, that concept of building loyalty is very different when there's a relationship. It's not a business relationship. It's something that feels more.
What's what we're built on, right? I mean, this great city, when we say that we're building, long-term relationships through our platform, what's our platform? Our platform is communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way, everybody that I mean, the strongest relationship that you have, the places that you worked a long time, the folks that you spent 4 or 5 years with in school, 6 years if you failed. I'm just kidding you. Just playing around. Sorry, not picking on anybody. Anyway, but the thing is that the more time that you spend with people, I mean, even the people that live together form incredible relationships. So the more time you communicate with people and the more deliberate you are in that communication, how that actually works, you know, listening to what the customer says, and then being able to, you know, to just, have you ever, anybody not met or met somebody who all they can talk is business? There is no personal. When they get on there, well, you know, these creams will help you with, you know, you want to avoid them, right?
Oh yeah.
You don't even want to take their calls. That's not communication. The communication is where it's like somebody mentioned about going and doing fishing or whatever, where you're just not talking business. Of course, people like myself and Sherri, when we get together, it's almost impossible. We might want to talk about fishing, but it always ends up being a brainstorm about business.
It's crazy stuff. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys an example of where I'm trying to push you forward on this. So having a coffee virtually is fantastic, but what else can we do virtually? So for an example, you know, there's so much information online, videos, all that kind of stuff. It's actually possible to do a watch party on Facebook. Right? So what if there is a really interesting video that you really want to get some conversation going around, or you think might be of value to some specific clients, or something that you can share in that format? Doing a watch party on Facebook could be kind of interesting. And a lot of people haven't done it. Some people do it a lot. I've actually never done one. So what else can we do online to build that loyalty where we're actually spending time together?
What's a watch party?
Right, good point. So a watch party on Facebook, they set them up where, say, for example, we had a video that we wanted to watch, but we all want to watch at the same time.
Oh,
like a Zoom call, only we're all watching the same thing.
Yeah.
gotcha. I didn't realize that.
I'm not sure if that is actually very practical, because sometimes when I find something that I would like somebody else to watch it, I just send it to them, because I don't know if they'll be available at that time, unless we kind of figure out what the time is that we're going to be watching this video, right? So it's a little bit more difficult to plan that, because when I browse and run into something that is interesting, I want to watch it right there. So that's why maybe I haven't done the watch parties. But another thing that I am working, and I'm actually doing a lot of brainstorming on, is to put some videos together so my clients can go and watch me and say, this is, you know, and talk about kind of personal, how it relates to their finances, and not just be kind of, oh, well, this is how a TFSA works, right? So just make it a little bit more practical, how it relates to their lives, instead of just kind of like the technical issues. The majority of the things, technicals, you can just find online. But, you know, making it so if they have a question, there's always something there that they can go back to. So, and I think it could be done with any business, right?
Well, we have a cooking thing coming up. I don't know if you saw that in the schedule, but on the 21st, I believe it is, of June, one of the churches here they're doing a cooking class. And what you do is you go onto This Great City and you click on the download button and you get the recipe, and then you buy the stuff, and on that day the instructor's there and they walk you through it. And you get to, which is kind of cool, right? So this is,
I like that.
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
So you get to share and it's vegan. So so the beautiful thing is that they're going to be trying a bunch of different things, but this is the first time that they're doing this because of a brainstorming session that they had, and so this is what they're trying.
So Araceli, remind me to chat about Nair later.
Okay.
So that's a great one, and it's good because one of the other examples that I had in the back of my head was friends of ours last weekend did a wine tasting, and interesting, the sommeliers were actually in South Africa, Argentina, and France, and so they got their bottles of wine ahead, and they did the wine tasting with the sommeliers on a Zoom call, just like I think it was Zoom. I don't know that it was, but so wine tasting would be a really fun way to, again, spend time with people without necessarily, you know, talking business, without necessarily, you know, it's just about building the relationship. So what else could we do online right now?
Fitness.
Fitness,
yeah.
that's a good one. I'm so going to find you on Fitbit.
Oh no! Oh, what have I done? Good. Yeah, bring it on. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, fitness is a good one. Like, what kind of things would you think of?
Well, sorry, there's a class that actually starts next Monday, where the instructor is just going to have everybody Zoom in and is going to train people. And basically, you could actually use your phone and tell them slow down or whatever. Like you could send questions to the person while they're working out. So that starts on Monday of next week. So, there's so many, whether it's learning how to put something together that you send people out to Home Depot, buy the stuff, bring it home, and then they'll build it with you. So many.
That's a good one. Building stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought of that one.
Home renovations,
that's
putting
really
up curtains in a concrete roof in an apartment. If you find that, by the way, just let me know and I'll.
I don't need to. I have a Dusty.
Hey, Dusty, can you okay, Teresa, my Dusty. she does everything, man. Anyway.
All right. Any other ideas? If we're focusing on that very sort of personal relationship that's going to help you in that business environment, but it's the very personal stuff that we saw bubble up to the surface that really makes a difference.
Think about how this type of format can actually revolutionize the dating industry. No longer just putting a face and a description and then posting on Plenty of Fish or whatever it is, where you can actually have a virtual nightclub where people can get together, and talk to each other, and go, would you like to dance? Sure. Right?
that would almost work because you do like the breakout rooms, right? Zoom has the capacity to do breakout rooms. It totally works.
You see those moves?
I'm just thinking of how about like RVs or something like that, tours of new RVs, or the latest trailers or something like that, right?
Oh, that's a great idea, actually, because really now we're kind of stuck as far as travel, right?
Yeah, and I have a campground or boats, right, during the boat show or something like that, the latest boat or latest fishing equipment that's out. Maybe Bass Pro would have those kind of videos, and you could make sure that you get those kinds of things, right?
You could really basically set up, a group of people that, and it could be 2 or 3 of your customers who have a similar, but any hobby, right? Any hobby. So, the photography thing where maybe I'm going out and I'm taking my pictures and Ivan goes out and he takes his pictures. But then, once every 2 weeks, we have a get together and we're just talking about what we took pictures of for the last 2 weeks, and that's all it is. That's it. There's nothing more than that.
I just did that. There's a meetup I'm on, and it's a photography meetup. And we had the first virtual walkabout. And I went downtown, shot the pictures, posted them on that group, and everybody else shared their downtown Toronto pictures.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's pretty cool when, that format, it works really well. It's easy. Share screen, here's my pictures. Obviously that doesn't work for everything, but it's really kind of interesting to me, something like that, where you can do that, right? You can still do an activity independently, but then come back to a group and share that information or those ideas or those experiences. So any kind of hobby groups or hobby chats, or even if it is just one other person and you're like, hey, I thought, I was curious, you do photography, thought maybe it would be really cool to see some of your pictures. Do you mind sharing them? That would be a great thing to have a conversation about.
Now, what about child care? A lot of kids are at home. The parents are trying to get work done. I just thought about how daycare centers could utilize, this type of format to allow parents to, cast the device to the TV, but the child, play with other kids kind of virtually.
That's actually a great idea. I wonder, we used to do, I don't know if they still do it now, we used to do the singing thing where, you'd start row your boat and the next person would start. And I mean, there are definitely activities that could.
Would Candace at her age get that she can't touch that person even though they're on the TV?
Well, so every Sabbath, of course, she's interacting with children at church, right?
Right.
So it's. I think everyone's pretty. These kids are so savvy. She knows how to do everything.
Yeah, I just didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, it is interesting because kids seem to have a. You know, I mean, they've grown up around technology. They seem to naturally get it better than we do.
It's an old person wondering,
Yeah, for sure.
So any other ideas about how you can relationship build outside of business to really build up that loyalty?
Outside of business, I don't know where you're going with that, Sherri.
Well, just this stuff, I mean, most of this stuff you can do has nothing to do with business, but you're building that relationship with people, right?
Well, the same, maybe having a newsletter going out more often, maybe weekly or every 2 weeks.
But outside of business, I mean,
well, but you can have a section that is just for kind of just something interesting. I think that the most important thing that loyalty is to have that personal touch and be in front of people a lot, like in very many different ways, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, having these watch parties or having a coffee meeting. It's just basically telling people, I'm here for you. You can talk to me any point in time, even a phone call, right? Just, it's being in front of people and just, you know, you don't have to have a long conversation. Just says, hey, listen, I'm just calling you to see how you're doing. If just anything changed. And if they say, well, yeah, you know, I wanted to call you. It's interesting that you call them and then all of a sudden they want to talk to you, right? So about something. It's just the way it happens, right?
So that's a really good point because I think I even would say that I experienced that too, where you think of something, you're curious about it, but you don't actually ask a person. Like you don't call them directly necessarily to ask them. So I have a girlfriend who who's an osteopath, and you know, I always manage to injure myself somehow. And so, but I won't call her and tell her if she happens to call me or we're on a call together or we're texting and she says, how's it going? And then I might say something, but I probably won't mention it. I mean, it would be different if I was in excruciating pain and I was like, I need an appointment. But there may be other things where I'm like, yeah, I kind of noticed this happening. Like, got an idea, put some ice on it. What do I do? Right. So I think that just picking up the phone from time to time and saying, hey, how's it going? Just wanted to say hi and, you know, see how things are going and you're well. And just opening that door for conversation can actually lead to, you know, I was thinking I had a question for you. And that's the opportunity then for them to make that ask that may or may not be business, but who knows?
Yeah, that's right. So it's just keep it in touch, making sure that, you know, their data's up to date, things that they don't even think about, right?
Yeah. So a lot of this stuff is really oh, you're on mute, Ivan.
I know. I just, you know, it's just like, oh, okay, again. Here comes that famous 2020 line. Hey, you're on mute. So I was just saying that you know, it's funny sometimes we get a phone call from folks that we know personally. The day before, and you know, you just know that if you get that phone call today, tomorrow they're going to call back and ask for something, right? They're just prepping you. It's like, oh, I was just thinking about you guys. And then next day it's like, hey, by the way, can you help me move? But the thing is, you know, it's really important that you do keep those lines of communication open regularly. Like, even if you have to diarize it and say that, you know, every 2 weeks you're going to make that call on a Thursday, and make those calls, just because you know, they will feel more comfortable approaching you if they need something, and what are friends for, right? And you want them to feel comfortable doing that. You want to be within that circle that they're going to reach out to, and you also want to be able to reach out to them if you just need to be able to have that time with somebody over coffee.
Yeah, it's true. So all of this stuff has been really about building that loyalty more from a personal sort of relationship developing piece. And so we've talked also though about a lot of ideas that are more business related. So thank yous to the customers. What I find really interesting is that we started off with those thank yous. And I sort of suspected that the conversation might go that way, but I wasn't sure. But that's what it came down to, is really about that relationship. So let me ask this: out of that conversation, like out of this conversation, all of these things, are there different things now that you might try over the next week or 2 weeks to implement? What would they be? What do you think you're going to try in the next couple of weeks to implement out of some of this stuff that we've talked about? What's new or different?
I like the sending the videos and the stuff like that for them. Something I had started doing before the pandemic, and don't ask me why I stopped during the pandemic because it would have been easy, is I learned someone had said, you know, take the time to write 3 people a letter, like a handwritten thank you. I don't do the thank yous through there's send a card or there's this company that these are actually handwritten, and so you can,
I do the same.
and then you can use theirs and their spouse's names or the kids, or have fun at the trailer, you know, hopefully I'll see you at the trailer park, or you know, that kind of stuff. But I was doing that with my associates, so I have people that are, anyway, my associates. And so I was picking 3 of them and saying, you know, something specific about them, right? So one of them was, I don't know how you know, my hat's off to you with doing this with a young family and still working full time. And, you know, the care that you put into this is just amazing.
And so are there other ones out of that list that you're going to try and implement as well?
The links to videos or articles, I'm going to be more proactive. Like I do it occasionally if I happen to come across something, but I don't typically go out looking for stuff, and I should make that a priority.
Okay, cool. Ivan, what about you?
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to keep calling people. I love the coffee meetings. I mean, they seem to be really good, and you know, just increased communication. That's really it. You don't know what someone's going through unless you talk to them, and you're not going to hear from them about what they're going through unless you have a relationship with them that is not just business, right? They're not going to tell you, right? Because that's not the way we're wired. So yeah, just keeping in touch.
Awesome. What about you, Araceli?
I think more calls. I gotta get my head around getting all the videos done. Just organizing the data is taking me a long time to make sure that I have something that is consistent, because that is actually the key. Like you cannot just put a video and then 2-3 months you don't put anything there. So you gotta have a plan to implement this. That is a big one for me right now. So
awesome. Very cool. Okay. Well, I think we're going to, we must be getting close to that time. Look at that.
So has anybody learned something about brainstorming today?
Easier when you're talking to each other. When you really are bouncing off each other, at least for my personality.
Yeah, there's so many things that showed up on that list that I would never have come into my thinking, right? So many things that you folks all threw out that would never have popped into my thinking. And I just thought, wow, you know what? You know, brainstorming with yourself is awesome because they're all great ideas, but that's it, right? So, but when you have other people that are in that, you know, it's important.
Yeah, good point. So I'm actually going to put this stuff together in a list. Actually, I'll make 2 lists, because I'm going to make one that's really about the building loyalty with people, that relationship building piece, but then also the building loyalty as a customer, ways to say thank you. So I'm going to make those, I'll put those together, and then I think I'm going to post them on the Facebook page. So maybe I'll post it with the video, Ivan. So if you want to let me know when you post it. And then that way we can always go back and see what the list is. We read through them. That was a lot of information all at once. And there were some really good ones on here that really kind of are outside of what we might necessarily normally think of. So I want to make sure that that I've captured those. Hopefully I've captured them all correctly. I realized what one of the things I was trying to read was, it says annual picnic. That I was like,
You don't want to get that wrong.
I don't even know what that says.
Do you know what might be cool too, Sherri? It's up to you, but having people send in topics of things that they want brainstormed, if they have a specific issue that they're dealing with that they just can't get beyond. If anyone out there, that in our reach of folks have something that they want to have brainstormed, it might be cool to have them do that and have a special brainstorm session just for that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be doing some workshops coming up in the near future, and brainstorming is going to be one of them, and they're small group brainstorming so that you have time to focus in on each person. So those will be coming up. I'm not sure about dates just yet, but they are more specific. Exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think this was very broad, but it is nice when you've got a topic that you're like, I really need to figure out how am I going to, whatever, get to new customers or, whatever it is that you're looking for, to have that interaction. So that will be a part of one of the workshops coming up. And I'm hoping actually in the next week to sort of solidify the details on that and some others. So I will probably share that maybe next Monday, hopefully.
So any suggestions on how to have my virtual annual picnic, I would really appreciate, because I'm so desperate to have this, but I can't see, the potential. We usually only between 10 and 20 people, although the potential is much more. So
there is an app called House Party.
Oh.
Yeah, and I mean, as it works, it's pretty good. In fact, it's very much like Zoom. It's it's a little bit funny though, because you can see when anybody who's on your contact list, you can see when they go into the House Party app, because it pops up and says somebody's in the house. So it's actually like, you kind of want to turn that off if you don't want to be seen. So we had scheduled a time to do a house party with my oldest stepdaughter and her boyfriend. And so, we're chatting away, and then all of a sudden in pops a few of their friends have come camping with us and that sort of stuff. So we're friends with them as well. And so suddenly in pops Zach, like he just invades the room. So you can lock the rooms so that other people can't come in. But we hadn't locked the room. And so, immediately he comes online and he's like, oh, look, they're here. And he joins. So it is actually fun. I know that the kids tend to use it quite a lot. But you can play games in there, and there's some other stuff that you can do. I don't know. We haven't used it to its fullest potential at this point. But it's definitely, it's kind of a neat app. So try that. Check it out. And maybe we'll have to do our next meeting on House Party or something.
But the only thing that you cannot do is have the food, right? Sometimes I just go to parties because I like to just sample the food, different foods, right? That I would normally wouldn't buy or wouldn't make, right?
Yeah.
And so those things, how do you make that effect?
Or we have like a demonstration. The one year we had a chocolate.
Yeah. Or maybe you send the food to every participant.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, everybody pays whatever to come, or because you probably, I don't know whether I guess you cover the cost for everything. So, but yeah, you can totally ship stuff to everybody.
Just alcohol, and nobody drinks anymore anyway because they all got to drive. So
yeah, but that would be kind of cool. We do. I have done. Made cookies and dropped off like for the kids and friends of ours. I snuck up and put them on their porch, and I actually went to the extent of, and this totally threw my friends off, but I actually went to the extent of looking online to figure out how to make boxes out of paper And so I just happened to have like a thicker construction paper because I didn't know what to put the cookies in, right? So I actually made the boxes, like fold and glue the boxes to put the cookies in and then drop them off to people's houses. And I mean, that was just, our friends and family, obviously, but I mean, that, just that personal delivery, they thought it was pretty cool. And we didn't actually tell anybody who the cookies came from. We did the same thing a couple weeks before that, but we dropped off bottles of wine.
Oh, nice.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to say thank you guys. I'm glad that we were able to kind of get an opportunity, and that was great. Catherine, we just did a very quick little brainstorm on your picnic. So yeah, I mean, sometimes that's all we need is just the space to do it and open the conversation up and see where it goes.
Well, definitely creativity is something that we really need right now.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The world is a new place. So, okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming today. So just a reminder that tomorrow is our Simply Networking call.
Yes.
So make sure that you sign up for that. Also on Wednesday evening, the Mastermind Jam, and then Thursday morning, Catherine's Tech Call. We will be back next week. And next week's conversation, well, it's a surprise, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. I may post something later in the week, though, to entice people. Everybody's like, no, we don't know what it is. I'm not coming. So make sure that that you sign up to join us next week, and stay safe. Have a wonderful week because the weather is cool and beautiful. So hopefully everybody gets to be outside a little bit.
Okay, well, have a wonderful week.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.